When I was in high school, I remember we used to partake in a 26-mile Food for the Poor march. It was called March for Hunger. It was actually more of a walk at your own pace, as long as you can, for as far as you can go. And every year for the past 30 years, our high school students would partake in a 26-mile walkathon to raise money to feed the poor and the homeless. We called it the March for Hunger. This fundraiser began at the break of dawn, usually, I believe, a Saturday morning, so the students would have time to recover from the long hike. It's been a tradition, and a successful one at that. Because of this success, there would be news crews from different TV stations that would randomly interview some of the participants or the students along the way. One of the students who finished the walk 10 hours later was interviewed, and she was asked how she felt. She said she was exhausted and wanted to give up many times, but every time the thought crossed her mind, she reminded herself of the countless others who pushed on and finished despite the blisters and the leg cramps in the hot, blistering sun. She told herself every extra step she would take would mean one more mouth to feed, and she would follow the footsteps of those who came before her and ran and completed the journey. Isn't it amazing how powerful our will and our minds can be? It's so much easier sometimes to simply give up and quit. But when we get reminded of others who have endured it all for the sake of those less fortunate, suddenly we find we're able to take the extra step. We find a renewed energy to take an extra step with a reminder of those who have gone before us. In Hebrews 12, verse 3, it says, "Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." It's a reminder that we must never forget what Jesus did for us. We must forge on with our purpose and our calling for him. He endured so much for all of us. He died for us, after all, so we may be saved and granted life eternally. In fact, Jesus said, "In this life you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." So we should remind ourselves of what Jesus had to endure, all the pain and suffering he took upon himself just to save us, the sinners. It always seems to add a new zeal in my step, a burst of overwhelming gratitude, and it makes my problems look a little easier and a little bit easier to tackle. What about you? What do you do to push yourself onward when you have problems or when life gets you down? Do you remember what Jesus did for you? Do you remember how much he suffered?